we can't solve problems that don't exist, right?
Sure.
I find a lot of leaders spend a lot of time solving problems that simply are not real. You don't have to be the strongest, the smartest, the fastest, have the best ideas. You don't have to be the best at anything to be the best leader. Never put your ego in being right ahead of finding the solution. It is not about being right. It's about getting it right. That is the goal.
Good. That is so good. Guys, I'm on the one and only Ryan Hanley. Dude, what is going on, man? So good to see you again.
So good to see you, man. Your episode on my show was phenomenal. People still talk about it. People still share it. Dude, you are a boss, man. And it was just such a pleasure chatting with you.
I appreciate that. Oh, man, I appreciate that. It's funny when you work as hard as you do to build such an engaging audience that actually cares about leveling up in business, life, themselves. You can't help but just show up, which is why I wanted to have you on this show, because it's one thing to understand what it means to be at the top of an organization and go through different transitions. It's another thing to become your own CEO and founder. It's another thing to raise your own money. It's all these different layers. And I'm curious to know, I think where I want to start is because leadership is probably the most difficult thing that so many of us struggle with, right? As far as how to do it effectively.
Mhm.
What has probably been the most transformational thing you've discovered along your journey that has allowed you to become the leader of the organizations that you are today?
For a long time, I believed that everyone operated for the good of the organization first. And that's not to say that people operate against the organization, but I don't know if I was because of my Christian upbringing or I don't know what it was in my past. And frankly, I don't know. I wish I had like a good idea, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about it. But when I first got into business, back in my first corporate job was in 2003. I worked for a company called RSM McGladrey down in Washington, D.C. They were a top 5 accounting firm at the time. And I always just operated under this impression that it was like being part of a team. I was always a sports guy, right? I played football, basketball, and baseball. I played baseball in college, baseball a little after college. I always just had this mentality that you're on this team, you're part of this company, everyone's pushing in the same direction, everyone's doing things for the betterment of the company. And I found that I was really bad at internal corporate politics. And it wasn't until I started to understand that people operate for their own good first, or need their needs inside the organization need to be taken care of first, then they can focus on the needs of the organization. And when in that reframe of, okay, create an environment, create a culture, create boundaries, create expectations, goals, etc., that align first to the needs of the individual, that then allow them to excel inside the organization, that's when my leadership career took off. And that's when I was able to build cultures very rapidly and scale the businesses that I've been able to do. But man, I'll tell you, I was coming into the corporate world, I was so far off on that. And I paid the price a couple times, which we can get into. But yeah, that was a huge culture. That was a huge shift for me as a leader.
Yeah, what's really interesting is I've discovered that we learn more about leadership from when we don't get it right than when we do, more than anything else. And I think it's one of the reasons the reason I'm gonna bring this up, because I think it's profound. I thought, and for the audience, if you guys don't know, Ryan Hanley has, as a multiple-time TEDx speaker, he's done a lot of really amazing things. Very successful entrepreneur. Has one of the top-rated podcasts of all podcasts, which I invite you guys to go check out as well. But one of the things that I heard you talk about that I've never heard anybody else talk about is the importance to dying to status. Because I feel like we are all young, old, entrepreneurial leadership, operational leadership, C-suite, whatever. I think there's an element of us that feels like we have to pursue the status. So first of all, I'd like to learn how you discovered this lesson, this painful lesson, and then how it shifted you and changed you, and how the audience could now benefit, from understanding how status is not the way.
So my last TEDx that I did, which you can, if you search, it's called "Stop Living a Life You Didn't Choose," was on this topic. And this was a tough lesson for me to learn. So I grew up in a very poor town in the middle of the sticks of upstate New York. There were 900 people in our town. And we used to say
Wow.
you could leave the doors open at night because the criminals lived in our town. They didn't rob from our town. And it just was, and there's good people that live there too. But at 12 years old, I remember looking around my town going, I need to get out of here. Like, I can't, this can't be my life. Like, I need to get out of this place. There just was no opportunity. It was a very depressed area, and a lot of people just scraping by. Every male role model in my life was either a drug addict or a criminal or an alcoholic. It was not a very positive environment, but through blessings of God and the love of my mother and my father, I was able to see the world, that there was a bigger and better world out there that had potential. Okay. So for most of my life, I couldn't lean on status. I had to just be the best to get out of there, because when you come from an environment like that, whether it's an urban inner city environment or a depressed rural environment, you don't ever get the benefit of the doubt. And I get it. Like, today, I'm a 6'3" white guy. I'm in shape. I'm successful. And you're going, woe is you. Well, back then I was, my nickname in middle school was Fat Boy. They used to call me my town name because it was such a shitty town that just calling me the name of the town was a derogatory name.
It's being called Jesus of Nazareth.
Yes, right, exactly. So like it was, so like I had to fight and scrape, so I couldn't rely on status. Okay, so that was how most of my life was built. And then I started to get some success in the business world, and it was like, oh, I did this thing, and I built this, and I sold this, and I gave this keynote in front of 5,000 insurance professionals, and it went over really well. And oh my gosh, and now all of a sudden I'm starting to feel the what comes from the status, right? People wanted to interview me for their podcast. They wanted me to come speak at their event. They wanted me to coach them. And I'm falling for the trap, right? I
did too.
it.
I did too. That's why I hadn't talked about this today. I fell for the same trap. Yeah.
So then I have this job where and we can tell this story too, but I had a job that I loved. And unfortunately, it's an interesting story. We can come back to it, but I essentially get fired. Okay. And I took, and now I'm looking for my next opportunity. And there's a whole bunch of opportunities. Blessed that there was. I took the opportunity that was the worst fit, but came with the most status. So I'm making more money than I've ever made. It's the hottest company in our industry. My industry that I've worked in most of my career is the insurance industry. They've raised a ton of money. They're all over the place. And I'm the chief marketing officer. I'm third in line to the CEO, right? Like, this is the job. Like, this is the job I'm supposed to have. And I'm walking around like I'm the big swinging, whatever. And, I'm just all the ego. I'm just all the ego, right?
Yeah.
And okay, so 6 months into the job, I'm sitting in a meeting with the CEO and the chief legal counsel, and we're having a performance review, right? And we're talking about some stuff and whatever. And I had some ideas on things that as the chief marketing officer, that I thought we should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And essentially the CEO turns and looks at me and goes, don't you realize by now that you were a vanity hire? Like he just didn't give a shit.
A vanity hire?
Care. He legit called me a vanity hire. So basically what he wanted, because of all the status that I had built in my previous position and all the attention and all that my name came with, again, in our small piece of the world in the insurance industry, right? That's what he wanted on his team. He didn't care about the strategy. He didn't care that I thought this messaging was he didn't want to hear any of it. He literally told me, go find something to do. We don't care what you think. And dude, it hit me like a ton. It was like the ego balloon just got popped. I mean, imagine if you think you know what you're doing, you're on top of your game, you're excited, you're energized, you're engaged, and someone goes, nothing you say matters.
Wow.
We're paying you simply so we look better as a company. We just bought this guy who's got a name and a space, blah, blah, blah. So our valuation looks better and our team looks better in an investment deck, but we don't actually give a shit what you say. Now, some people might go, for the money I was making, they might go, well, that's a first world problem. You're an idiot. For me, and at my core, again, I don't know if it's being raised Christian or the fact that I grew up with loving parents. Dude, all I want to do is help people. At my core, I've given up so much money because I just want to help people. I just want people to get better. That's it. Right. So like all of a sudden I was like, it just completely deflated. I went into a tailspin. I was depressed. I ultimately like had to leave the job. There was some extenuating circumstances with travel and a sick family member, but it just was like, I just found myself in this place of like complete, what's your worth? Like literally this guy was willing to hire you for just for your name, not for who you are, not for what you could bring, what you thought, what your expertise, none of that. Didn't care about any of that. And man, it was like a Mike Tyson right hook, right? Like everyone's got a plan. That was my getting punched in the face moment. Even getting fired from the job that I loved before that didn't hit me as hard as that moment. Possibly it's because it was kind of stacked on top of each other. But and I tell this story in the TEDx talk. Sometimes like our biggest breakdowns lead to our biggest breakthroughs, right? So I leave that meeting and I walk to my office. I'm on the 15th floor, corner office, windows. Again, like they set me up to basically just sit in this room and do nothing. And I'm staring out the window and questioning life choices and what do I want to do? And oh my gosh, like, I'm an idiot for coming here, and, the whole shame spiral and all this kind of stuff. And it's funny how the muse works, right? I believe in the muse. I act as if the muse exists. And for those that don't know, the muse is the opposite of the resistance. Stephen Pressfield talks about this in the War of Art and some of his other works. But the muse is inspiration, serendipity, right? It's creativity. And I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of marinating in all this. And this idea pops in my head. When I was 10 years old, my first entrepreneurial endeavor, I guess you could say, again, we're very poor. I have zero money all the time. I used to get one new shirt, one new pair of jeans, one new pair of sneakers every year. That was it. And I just had to ride those three things out with whatever else I had. That was it. That was all we got. Right. So I wanted more. I didn't want to be the kid who had to wear the same shirt 3 times a week because the rest of his shirts didn't fit because you had grown from year to year. So what I would do is I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I would leave my house, bless you, and I would walk out into our community. And now this is back in the early 90s. People used to put their recyclables in these little blue bins in front of their house. So I would take 2 50-gallon garbage bags and I would go walk the streets on Thursday mornings before school at 4:30 in the morning and collect all the 5-cent deposit bottles and put them in bags and walk around my neighborhood. And by the end of like an hour or so, hour and a half.
In the
middle of winter. Yeah, in the middle of winter, because I'm living upstate New York. So it's freezing cold. I'm in a parka, and I would walk around and collect. I'd be carrying these bags and I'd make $30-40 a week off of that. And now I got $30-40 in cash in my pocket every week. As like a 10-year-old, I'm riding dirty. Like I'm the pimp's pimp at this point, right? Like now here's the funny part, guys. And this is where the status part comes in. My friends used to call me garbage boy. They used to call me garbage picker. They used to just absolutely harass the shit out of me. And I'm going, guys, I'm making 40. But you pick garbage. We never pick garbage. How, you're dirty. I mean, just tear me apart because I was willing to do this. And my neighbors, I had neighbors that would open their door in the morning and yell at me, tell them that I'm not even on their property. I'm walking on the street. They're yelling, get out of my garbage, all this stuff. And I didn't care. Like literally at 10 years old, I didn't care. It was about the goal. I needed money. And I was willing to do whatever was necessary, right? Legally, obviously, to get to that goal. And it was this that hit my brain when I was sitting, and I'm like, oh my God, the 10-year-old version of me had more discipline, more self-respect, more humility, more control of his ego than the, 30-something version of me, however old I was at the time, did. And I've never let that mistake happen again, dude. It was like, I have never, ever from that day forward allowed my status impact to be a deciding factor in what I did if what I thought I was doing was right. And
Yeah.
it's defined my life. And while, you know, I've obviously more ups and downs in entrepreneurial stuff and tons of wins and losses like anybody.
Hmm.
Today I can say that I feel like I operate from the healthiest place of ego that I ever have. And it
Hmm.
allows me to execute in every capacity of my life, whether it's relationship with my kids. I'm single, but I have had partners in the, you know, and with
Hmm.
those partners,
Yeah.
you know, like just every relationship, everything I do, because I was blessed with that horrible moment.
Hmm.
I'm just a better leader because
Yeah.
now it's what's the right thing to do regardless of how I look, how we look, whatever, what these
Yeah.
people are going to think, you know, oh, you had to backtrack here, because I'm not standing next to Ferraris in my Instagram posts. Like I don't own a Ferrari. Guy,
Yeah, it's funny. I heard someone say recently, "What's the point of buying an asset that doesn't appreciate?" You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I'm all about it. Like here's the thing, man. Like if you love cars and you're into, go get a Ferrari.
well,
I have
I'm there with you, except for the fact, and this is where we can have a little playful banter. I think you buy the assets that can pay for the Ferrari.
yes,
So
yes,
basically, it's a passive income kind of
yes.
no brainer kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're buying the Ferrari on credit, that's the problem. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly,
Or you're
exactly.
renting the Ferrari to take Instagram bangers, which is, you know, which is unfortunately where our culture has gone, right? So like
Hmm.
I drive a Chevy Tahoe from 2019. I can
Hmm.
afford a nicer, newer car, but I have two kids that play three sports. So I have a Tahoe because my car at any given time has five different bags of sports gear in it.
Yeah,
And I coach half those teams. And that's the life that I want to live. And
yeah.
the entrepreneurial journey affords me to live in a completely remade, beautiful 1,300 square foot ranch that is perfect for a single guy who
Hmm.
wants to not be bogged down with home assets or car assets, wants to be able to take his kids on trips,
Yeah,
pay for camps and clubs. And, you know, when I want to go on a trip, I can go on a trip at any time, right?
yeah.
I'm not bogged down by material goods, right? So if someone were to say, oh, look at his 1,300 square foot ranch, he must not be a successful entrepreneur. Sure, you could think that. You'd be wrong, but you could think
Hmm.
that. But what you
Yeah,
don't know is on a drop of a dime, the way I've set my life up, on a drop of a dime, I could take a long weekend wherever I wanted to go and not think twice about it.
yeah.
And I would rather that to me, for me, is what's important in my entrepreneurial journey and what I'm building towards is so that I can share experiences with people that I love and care about
Hmm.
versus the things. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, for a lot of, especially the younger generation, we our status is so determined by the things we can take
Hmm.
pictures of. And that's the
Yeah.
problem.
No, I 1,000% agree with you. In fact, one of the things there's so much there to unpack. Well, first of all, I'm gonna start with a former employer as a telltale sign of how not to lead,
Yep.
right? And the reason I say that is because you and I have talked about this before, but all team members want to feel seen, valued, heard, and appreciated in general. And I would dare say that whatever success that company was already at, with the limitations of that particular leader, would create the bottleneck within the organization. The organization can only get past this bottleneck, right? So the learning curve for everybody watching and listening right now on an example of how not to lead. First of all, it's a really poor example to hire anyone for status. I hire for expertise and talent.
Mhm.
It's like, can you help us move this ball forward? Because this ball's heavy, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to acknowledge for the audience and everyone watching and listening is the importance of being authentically congruent, right? When you're chasing worth and you're chasing status and you're chasing these other things, inevitably what happens is you end up doing the opposite of worth to begin with. You end up self-abandoning, right? So you were self-abandoning, I self-abandoned, trying to buy the thing, trying to do the thing, trying to be the person, trying to be the thing. And which is what people which I heard you articulate so well is like you're just chasing
Mhm.
constantly. And if you're chasing constantly, you're not effectively leading well. It's impossible to lead well if you're leading from insecurity, period. Right. Which is by definition, the chasing and stuff, which is one of the reasons I wanted to pick your brain there because I don't know. I honestly can't think of all the folks that I know in the professional development industry, entrepreneurship industry. I don't know that I've heard anyone discuss not chasing status, not like being authentic and congruent with yourself. And I'm curious to know, because I feel like being congruent with self is like one of the cornerstones of being successful.
Mhm.
So people say, well, what's your definition of being successful? To me, it's like being congruent, like
Yeah.
being in complete alignment with how I was made and the
Dude,
way in
that's
which
the
I have
word.
to.
That's
Yeah.
the word. You just use the word that, so I've been working on this a little bit and kind of playing with these ideas, and you just use the word that I think is not talked about enough, is alignment, right?
Hmm.
Aligning your values, the life that you want, with what you do on a day-to-day basis, right? These things need to be alignment. And then there's layers to that, right? If you
Yeah.
have a partner, a spouse, right? You need to align with what he or she wants, right?
Yeah.
Who are, like, where are you trying to go and what are you trying to do? And I'll tell you where this idea came from for me. So my kids go to Catholic school. I'm a
Hmm.
bad Catholic. I've never enjoyed the pomp and
I'm a
circumstance.
bad thing. I'm a good Jesus follower, but I ain't
Yes,
bad
that's it.
everything
That's
else.
it. I feel like Jesus understands. We have a relationship. We talk every day.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm good there. I struggle with the Catholic Church, but that's where my kids go to school. So one day, my 9-year-old, we're in the car, we're headed to baseball or whatever. I don't even know where we're going. My 9-year-old asked me, Dad, is hell really like a fiery place in the ground? And I know what he's
Hmm.
asking, right? Like he's trying to get straight in his head the concept of hell with
Hmm.
the reality of hell. And
Yeah.
I go, honestly, I don't think so. I go, I don't know. Haven't been there yet.
Hmm.
Hopefully don't go. Hopefully never find
That's
out
what
for
I said.
sure.
Hopefully you're not taking a
Yeah.
destination
Yeah,
trip.
hopefully
So
not.
yeah.
However, I said, I don't know for sure. However, I don't believe so. I said, Bud, how I think about hell, I the w- again, I've kind of followed Jordan Peterson. I learned this idea from Jordan Peterson, act as if, right?
Hmm.
So Jordan Peterson used to say, now he's a believer, but he used to say when asked this question, I act as if God exists because I
Hmm.
have not found a better manual for living a
Yeah.
healthy, successful, love-filled life. Okay.
Yeah.
So I I act as if on a day-to-day basis when I die, I'm going to have to stand in front of St. Peter and answer for the life that I lived. That's how I
Yeah.
act every day. Whether St. Peter is standing there or not, who the
Yeah.
hell knows, right?
Yeah.
But for me, as a mental model, it works incredibly well to stay aligned to my values, to know I'm going to have to answer for the things that I do, right?
Hmm.
15 years of marriage, never cheated on my wife. I don't, shit happens. That's not a judgment to anyone who's listening who has that infidelity. I get it. But for me, it's not like I haven't been presented with opportunities. It's not
Hmm.
like my body
Yeah.
didn't want to at certain times, but right. I always had this little voice in the back of my head. Okay. So what I said to him is, dude, to me, how I view hell is the feeling from the distance between when St. Peter shows you who you could have been
Hmm.
and who you are.
Hmm.
So when you stand in front of St. Peter, he's going to say, look at this guy right here.
Yeah.
This is who you could have been if you
Yeah.
walked the path, if you did the work, if you were fully committed, blah, blah, blah. This is who you could have been right here, this person. And you're
Hmm.
you.
Yeah.
And I feel like the distance between those two things, how proud you are of that distance is the difference between being in heaven and hell. If you
Yeah.
stare at that guy and you go, you know what? I'm pretty close.
Yeah.
I did my thing. I worked, I made my mistakes, but I worked to be that person. And man, I'm standing here for you today, and I'm pretty close to who that guy is.
Yeah.
You walk in and you feel fucking great. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah.
curse. You feel great.
You're
Yeah,
fine, man.
you feel great.
Our
I
audience, by the way, are real humans.
okay,
They
good. All right, good. Yeah,
they go
sorry,
to
guys.
church on Sundays and let F-bombs slip every
Yeah.
now and again. Like, let's just keep it real. I'm trying to get out of that whole world of like we must be perfect on air at all times.
Good.
I call it alignment and congruence, right? It's like, hey,
Yeah.
I love me some Jesus, but I every now and again say a boo-boo word.
If you ask me in person, I unfortunately curse a lot. I'm fast talking New Yorker. I can't help myself. But I try to keep it. Care to keep it.
You know what's really funny is I think curse words are in the New York Bible actually.
Yeah. You can't help yourself. It's not even like, it's funny. And I know we're contextual here for a second, but for those of you who don't live on the East Coast or, kind of like that New York, New Jersey, kind of Southern, Connecticut area, we don't even see them as curse words. It's just,
No, it's you guys created the F-bomb.
it's just kind of how you talk to each other. You're just like, it's just like a way of expressing a certain
Yeah.
emotion or feeling in the moment, whatever. Okay. So this idea of like, hell being you're created with this max capacity, whatever that is, right? And maybe all of ours are different, all of us, whatever. And hell is when you stand in front of that person you could have been and you're disappointed in yourself.
Yeah. Wow.
That's hell.
Wow.
So the goal is not perfection. It's incremental improvement to the best version of you. Understanding and giving yourself. And this is why the Bible teaches things like grace and love and acceptance and peace, because you're gonna mess up.
Yeah.
You're gonna mess up. But you keep getting back up, right? All the lessons are about you're gonna fall, get back up. You're gonna fall, get back. That's the lessons over and over of the Bible. And whether you believe in God or not, Jordan Peterson is right. It is the greatest manual to live a successful life. So kind of, I'm a little off course on how we got here, but that definition and that kind of mental model keeps me today as aligned as I can possibly be to my value structure.
Well, and I think so to unpack some of that, I think that's the important piece is the focus of congruence, the practicality of alignment, and the truth of living well, right? You can't, I've said this before on a different couple places. I think you and I have even talked about it before, but I don't know. It's like 2019, Time Magazine and Harris did a Harris poll, and they surveyed, I don't know, 400,000 Americans across the United States. And essentially the question centered around how well do you think you're living, right? So, do you, and the symptoms around anxiety and depression and overwhelm and all these different things. And they discovered that I want to say it was either 77 or 78% of all of America that they surveyed. Now, granted, 400,000 is a small sample size for billions of people, but at the same time, I think it still proves the point that over 78% of them would say that they were living an inauthentic life. In other words, that they would say that they were living someone else's life. In other words, like you were talked about earlier, hey, look, I think I have to be this person with this mask to be accepted and to be validated by my peers. And it's funny because you and I, with different stories, different experiences, got to the same place. It's like, no, actually, you end up chasing and 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 chasing until you stop this behavior. And then all of a sudden you actually find your authentic self and your authentic tribe. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's so interesting to me because I feel like the world as a whole is sick of guru behavior and more into guided behavior. And the only way you become a guide in anything is by living out the experiences and everything that comes with it, which is one of the reasons why I think you and I hit it off from day one. Like we both believe in transparency. Like I'm told by my team all the time, dude, you're actually overly transparent. I'm like, yeah, but at least you know where I stand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, which I think is a grossly underrated and underutilized skill as a leader.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a false perception of leadership where you have to wear the mask. And I think part of me wants to keep going down this rabbit hole because I'm like, if I can help one leader, you help one leader, we help 10 leaders, 100. Like when we go and help these leaders understand that they're pursuing the wrong thing, they can then go lean their ladder against the right wall and really start building something amazing and actually make the impact and the income and all the things that they want collectively.
Yeah. Dude. So, okay. So I love this tact here. One of the things when I'm working with a founder or a leader in whatever capacity, and, we're getting to know each other. One of the first things that often comes up, and I'd be interested if you find this similar, I'm sure you do. Most people who are new to leadership or are struggling with leadership, a big part of that is they feel like they need to have all the answers. That their team expects them to be strong and perfect and wealthy and good at everything and fit and all these things and every answer they have. And that is 100% not the truth.
True.
Okay? You don't have to be the strongest, the smartest, the fastest, have the best ideas. You don't have to be the best at anything to be the best leader. In fact, you don't want to be the best at anything in your company except for being a leader, right? Ultimately, if you're hiring for the right reasons, as you said, expertise, talent, knowledge, energy, passion, commitment, right? If you're hiring for those things, you don't want to be the best at any of the other stuff. You want to bring people in who are better than you. Those people want to follow somebody that they know is going to lead them into hell and back out. That's what they want to know.
with a squirt gun.
Yeah.
You ever heard that phrase?
Yeah.
Enter, go after hell like your life depended on it with a squirt gun.
Yeah. That's what they
Yeah.
want to know, right?
Yeah.
I want to know that if I commit to you, you're going to be here when shit gets hard. You're not going to blame me. You're not going to fall off the table. You're not going to go on a 3-day bender and we can't get a hold of you. You're not going to check out. You're not going to start side projects. I want to know you're going to be here when shit gets hectic. And if I believe that single thing, right,
Yeah.
I will follow you all the way down.
Yeah.
Right? And because the best leaders, the mentors that I learned from, that I've molded myself on, like, I'll flat out tell people, I don't have the answer. I'll be in a meeting. I'll be like, guys, we need to solve X problem. And you'll watch all the eyes in the Zoom call, because most of the companies that I've worked in the last 15 years have been remote. Like, they all they're waiting for you to tell them what to do. You're like, and I'll just look at them. And I've literally on calls before just sat here in silence for minutes. And then finally someone will like start talking or ask, I'm like, guys,
what if we did this?
Yeah. And you're like, well, okay, let's go down that rabbit hole. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer, guys. I know we all agree. We've all kind of pounded the table. We've all harumphed that this is a problem we need to solve. I concur. The group concur. Let's go tack this mountain.
Yeah.
I have some ideas, but I don't know the answer. So let's talk about how we get there. And what you, and this is this marrying this. So there's a secondary problem that comes out of this. Okay. So let's say people buy into everyone listening buys into, okay, I don't have to have all the answers. Great. My job is to help the team get to the answer, or an answer that we can then put into market and try. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Facilitate the conduit of ideas.
The second part is, think of everything as an experiment. Everything. Because when you commit to a solution, if you then put all if you go down that solution as if it's the only solution, that solution has to be correct. Now status and ego start to pop up. Because what if it doesn't work? Stephen, what if I agree and we go down this path and it doesn't work? Oh, now I look like I don't know what I'm doing, or the company doesn't look like it knows it, or we
You know what's really funny about what you just said? That you just actually gave a telltale indicator. I want to bring a highlight to this real fast.
Yeah.
How would I feel if the what if happened? Because I feel like how would I feel if the what if happened already tells you're you're getting ready to operate from insecurity or ego or arrogance. I think I had to spotlight that just for a second, because that's the fact that you even would say that, even verbally or even thought to yourself, is like, oh, I'm stepping in the ego.
Yeah, because that's what happens, right? We're like, we get paralysis, or we get over controlling, because what if Sally has a great idea and I agree with Sally and the idea doesn't work, right? Now I look like an idiot for listening to Sally, and why do you prioritize her? And she doesn't, and it's like, no, that's not it. I tell everybody in my company, everything we do is an experiment until it works. Once it works, it's something we do, but it's just an experiment, because I don't have a clue what works and what doesn't. None of you know. None of us know what works. All these gurus out there talking about this or that and do this and this, none of them know if that shit's going to work for your business. You don't know what's going to work for your business. You could have the best. Elon Musk didn't know how to get to Mars. He had to wreck, 20 rockets, 40 rockets, 100 rockets.
Probably more than that, trying to get the Joker to land on a base.
100%. Like, he didn't know how to do it. He knew, I want to get from this planet to that planet. How do we do it? Okay, we got these boosters. Okay, those boosters don't work. Okay, we need boosters we can use again. Okay, so now we need to land them. How the hell do we do that? Let's try this. That didn't work. Now we should probably land them on water because of this or that. Okay, right? Like, everything, like, take your feelings of him as a person out and look at him and how he runs his businesses. Everything that dude does is an experiment until he figures out what works, and then he runs another experiment, and then he figures out what works, and then he runs another experiment. And what that does is it never puts your ego in being right ahead of finding the solution. It is not about being right. It's about getting it right. That is the goal.
Good. That is so good. Man, that was so good. Not about being right, it's about getting it right. I love that. Yeah, it's so true, because again, your entire organization will stall when you can't get past that moment. Whether it's a C-suite professional that's on your team, whether it's you, it's on your team, whether it's somebody who's in administration, where this is the way it's always been, it's the way it's always going to be. Like, I love the experiment, and it also reminds me of was it Thomas? I think it's Thomas Edison created 9,999 ways to make a light bulb until he found the one. Right. That's another, I think, another way to articulate something very similar. But you're right. You're right. I think that's why you excel as a founder and CEO yourself, is because you do see logistically how everybody plays a role and plays a part. Unlike where the show started, with somebody not seeing how each individual plays a role or an active part. You know,
and what you get out of it, dude. So if you can cultivate this culture of, it's not about being right, it's about getting it right, right? You see infighting go down. You see territorialism go down, backstabbing, sarcasm. It all goes away because you start to cultivate a group of people, and because the people, one, who operate purely out of ego and status, they immediately stand out, and you can cut them out of the herd, right? You can try to coach them, and if they won't be coached up, you can cut them out of the herd. So what you're cultivating is a group of people who at any given time are willing to share an idea, a challenge, a frustration, an obstacle, an issue, right? Right? Like, they'll come to you, and I'll give you guys an example. So after the job that I described before, where I was the vanity hire, okay, I ended up leaving that job. I had a family member get terminally ill, and I couldn't travel anymore for work, so I had to take something local to my market. My market, Albany, the greater Albany, Saratoga area, is not a bastion of insurance, careers. So I had to kind of pivot for a second. I took a brief 1-year hiatus from the insurance industry, and I became the CEO of a stalled fitness franchise. They had 8 locations. They'd been in business for 7 years, and they had stalled at 2,000 clients. They couldn't grow. And the guy basically came to me, long story short, he said, I'm a gym guy. I don't know how to take the business to the next level. He hired me. Awesome. 12-month contract, mercenary role. Perfect. Love it. Turnaround job, perfectly fit for what I wanted to do. 9 months in, I'm sitting in the boardroom, because every Monday morning at 8:30, I met with the founder, and we just talked about what was going on that week, right? Make sure we're in alignment and all this stuff. I'm sitting there, and the best part about running a fitness business is I'm in Lululemon shorts, Lululemon hoodie. I got my sneakers on. Like, this is the CEO. This is what I wear to work every day. It was great. Part of my job was working out at different locations with our clients, like just shaking hands and shit. It was awesome. And I'm sitting there, whatever, standard Monday. I see him pull in, get out of his car, and someone else gets out of the car. He's in a suit, and his lawyer's with him. And I'm like, well, I'm hoping they're coming from another meeting. They walk in, sit down. CEO looks at me and says, you've done a tremendous job. You've done more than we expected. Unfortunately, your time here is done. Pushed the termination paper across, fired me on the spot. Thankfully, I had severance, whatever. It doesn't matter. But come to find out, 6 months later, I had made the business so profitable in 9 months that he didn't want to finish the contract. He wanted to take back over, right? So that's great.
All right, so
not awesome for me.
Another leadership principle here. I just have to bring this up.
I'm like, what, these experiences are stacking up, and I'm going, something's wrong. I got to start my own business. Okay, so I start my own national digital commercial insurance agency, March 9th of 2020. 7 days before the zombie apocalypse hits New York and the entire state is shut down. And now all businesses are shut down. So any clients I would have the chance of writing are done. I've already sunk like close to 50 grand into this business to get it off the ground. Because as much as you would think an insurance agency wouldn't be expensive to start, it is. And, or at least that expensive. And I'm dying on the vine. Right. I now I have no money coming in, so I can't afford any help. And I'm like, I'm screwed. This is just a complete dead on arrival business, and all the things. But having learned the lessons that I had learned in the past, right? And having developed this idea, everything is an experiment. Everything, okay, well, so me going out and being this type of business isn't going to work. But I could hard pivot to digital, go downstream to like micro businesses and small commercial, which tend to be more willing to buy online, because there were still businesses operating.
Yeah.
this is a play, right? So I pivot into this space, and all of a sudden business starts to take off and we're doing well. Now I need to hire people. Well, here's the issue. Insurance, it's very expensive to hire good licensed insurance people. It is not if any of you are looking for another career, insurance is the best business model that exists. It's not sexy, don't get me wrong. There's nothing sexy about what I do, but it's a great business model. And I didn't have the money to pay for these people. So what I did was I looked at the market and I said, okay, where can I get top quality talent? Well, there are most single moms and moms with young kids get run out of the insurance business because it's a 9 to 5 business. They want you to log in and log out. And, moms with young kids, and I know I'm not trying to be sexist, but, we still live in an age where moms tend to take care of the younger kids more than dads, whatever.
Well, the reality is their moms are more equipped.
Yes,
Like
100%.
Scientifically proven more equipped to handle children.
Yeah, from an empathetic standpoint, they probably should be, but all things, whatever. But so there's all this incredible talent sitting out there that's been kicked out. So what I did was I started hiring these women, talented, hardworking, and they would exchange less income, which I could afford, in exchange for availability or versatility in their schedule. So I made a hard rule. I do not care when you log in. I don't care if your kid gets sick and you got to leave for an hour. I don't care if there's a doctor's appointment in the afternoon. I don't care. You have X amount of work to get done during the day, right? That I need you to get done, which means you may have to log in at 6 or 7 at night or log in early, just depending on what your day is. But you get it done. I don't care. Dude, loyalty, commitment, passion. I had an army of people, and I love these women to death. I found them, after I sold the business, because it grew so fast, I was able to sell the business 2 years later. And then when I exited 2 years after that, but found them all new jobs that wanted new jobs, and I still communicate just amazingly. But the idea was ego-wise, right? I should have gone out and gotten some high-powered producer who has a big book of business that could, bang, bang, bang. And instead what I did was I brought in these women. Most of them had never sold before. They'd only ever done service work. And they were so excited. And people looked at my agency and they're like, how do you know they're working? Are you keystroking them? I'm like, no, I don't do any of that shit. I don't do any keystroking. I don't check in on what they're doing. I'm like, I need to know, you need to be able to respond within an hour. So you all have cell phones. So you just, if you're not in the office, I just need you to be able to respond within an hour. And I need you to get X amount of work done. And we created a simple plan with boundaries, and our agency didn't look like anyone else's. People would mock us for the way that we did business. They would mock us because our value proposition
all the way back to the recycle bin, baby.
All the way back to recycle bin. But show me another freaking digital agency which has grown from 50,000 bootstrapped to a 7+ figure exit in less than 2 years.
Yeah, well, so here's the point, though. Here's what I want. One of the things I want the audience to take away from this is creativity and innovation always precedes success and expectation, right? So if we can get to a place where, and you did this with your organization, right, where people feel seen, valued, heard, and appreciated. You help these new team members feel seen, valued, heard, and appreciated. You understood the circumstances. You worked with the schedules. You gave them definitive boundaries, and you said, "This is where we're going. You want to come with me?"
Yep.
Right. And they signed up for it because you were in alignment. It was in alignment with who they are, what they wanted, where they were headed. What I think a lot of founders get wrong is, and this is my own personal opinion, is, to your point, they go and try to model or mimic what everybody else has done before, thinking that, well, I can go scratch out 12 or 13% net income myself. I'm like, well, if we do it Ryan's way, we can scratch out 30-40%. And then you know what I'm saying? Just because there's innovation, because it's like, how do you go to the marketplace and solve the problem in the marketplace? But how do you bring the team and help them solve their problems along the way as well? And I just thought that was genius, man.
Dude, so I used to get in trouble because I used to talk about, so I love talking about best practices. I love best practices, but not for the reason that most people think. I like best practices because if I know what the best practices are, I know how to beat you. because everybody just mimics the best practices. And here's the deal with best practices, guys. At least this is my belief of best practices. Now, granted, there are some core best practices that are just kind of like the foundation of running a business. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like, how does the best agency in this category prospect? How does the best, or whatever, best business in your category do whatever? If I know how you do it, right? This best practice idea shared by whatever industry, trade group you have, then I know how to beat most of my competition. Because what they're doing is not thinking about, oh, how do I creatively solve this problem for my people, my market, the way we want to solve it? I'm thinking, well, this agency that I envy, or I keep talking about agencies because that's my industry, but this business over here, I envy them. So I'm going to do it the way they do it, right? But that's what works for them and their culture and their mantra and their mission and their core values in the market that they want to serve. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you, but so many businesses get locked into, if I don't do it this way, my board, my investors, my peers, my whoever are going to think I don't know what I'm doing, or they're going to question me. I look at best practices as literally a blueprint for how to beat my competition. Because I know the vast majority of the companies in my industry are going to do it the way these best practices say. So now I can go, okay, best practices have X number of producers per accounts. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, how do I do that better? Because I know that's the way they're doing it, and I know what they're paying people, so I know what their cost of acquisition is. Okay, so how do I beat that cost of acquisition? Okay, I got to hire these people. I got to align them this way. Okay, I got to adjust the way I do business a little bit. It's a little more difficult to manage people who have a freewheeling schedule. A lot of trust involved, a lot of loyalty that has to be there. But as you said, I can get there faster, quicker. I can get there in a way that I want to serve them, because my ego isn't tied to, best practice. Rogue Risk, which was the name of my business, would never in a million years make a best practice report. Never. It would never make it.
Yeah. What's really cool about that is, with the model that you put together, and I think this is another piece of insight. It's like, if let's say you're competing with a company down the street, whatever your niche is, right? And to your point, everybody does it this way, right? And you go and choose, of the 10 things, you just go and choose 2 and say, what if we did these 2 things this way differently? How would it kind of land? What I think is interesting is you said, you told your team the what and the why. So here's what I want you to do and the why I need you to do it, but you left the how up to them in much of the way, right?
Yes.
So
there was a day. This I'll tell you, my most proud day ever at Rogue Risk. This is after we got purchased. For the first year after we got purchased, we were basically left alone, which was great. Unfortunately, eventually, and just be careful, guys, when you sell to PE, be ready for them to kill your baby. So the last year, the last year was fine. I hit my exit and we, whatever, is all good. But like the last year, I basically just watched them slowly knife my baby as they put best practices into our business that killed what made us different. Doesn't matter. Different story. But I'm sitting there one day and I looked at my calendar. It was empty. And I'm like, so then I text my, she actually still works for me today at the company that I run today.
Oh, that's fine.
I just brought her with me. She's the best. Her name's Clarissa, and she won't listen to this, but if she ever does, Clarissa, I love you. You're the best. I hope you never work for anyone ever again. Yeah, except for me. I hope you never work for anyone ever again. But I text her and I'm like, hey, I got nothing on my calendar. She's like, yeah, we're good. I go, what do you mean? I go, what about this? She goes, oh yeah, we solved that yesterday. I go, well, we were talking about, she goes, yeah, no, Friday afternoon after we had the call in the morning, we got all together and we solved that problem too. And I'm like, sitting there going,
you guys don't need me anymore. I'm going to vacation.
What do I do? What am I supposed to do? She's like, I don't know, go golfing or something. She's like, at one point she goes, look, at this point on these particular issues, she goes, if you get back involved, it's just going to fuck things up. And I was like, it was like this moment, dude, where I don't want to say that I cried, but like I felt like this like emotion of like, holy shit, it's working. Like like you said, they understand what we're trying to do and they understand why we're trying to do it. And they have taken ownership of the how, because they know they can screw up.
Yeah.
And later that day, we had an all team, all hands meeting because we had an issue that came up that we just wanted to talk about, not a bad issue. And what happened was we had made a mistake. There was a mistake happened. And we needed to address it, not like to blame anybody, but to kind of say, hey guys, you know, we can't do this again. We don't want this to happen again. We just want to make everyone aware. And the woman who made the mistake, I did not call her out. No one except for a couple people on the executive team knew that she was the one that caused the problem. She actually stopped the meeting and said, guys, I want you to know that I'm the one that messed up. And she said, and it won't happen again, you know, whatever. And she started, and I said, hey, stop. You're good. You're good. Everybody screws up on this team. Everybody, myself included, probably me more than you guys. I said, you're good. I go, we're having this call, not about you. We're having this call so that we just let everyone know this is something that could happen. We need to be aware of it and not let it happen again.
Yeah.
Okay. Meeting ends. She calls me after the meeting and she's in full tears, just bawling on the phone. And I'm like, I don't know. She's like, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know why she was crying. It took her like a minute or two to pull herself together.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, I just said, what, her name was Sam. I said, Sam, what's, you know, what's up? Like, she goes, I've never worked for a place that I could make a mistake like that and not worry about getting fired. She's like, she goes, I went into that meeting and I wasn't worried about getting fired. That's why I spoke up. She's like, I wanted to take ownership of it. She's like, but I've never worked anywhere that I could mess up and not worried about getting fired. Because the key is, guys, her mistake was not, there was no malicious intention in her mistake. It was an honest mistake, right? So like, why would I fire someone? It was a big mistake. Don't get me wrong. But it was an honest mistake.
It
wasn't malicious in any way. And I was like, I'm not going to chastise you. I'm not going to blame you, right? Yeah, sure. If we had let it get too far, my license would have been in jeopardy. The agency's license could have been in jeopardy. We solved it, no problem. But like, but why would I was like, yeah, of course. Like the thought never even crossed my mind. And she was just like, oh my God. And my point is not stroking what I'm saying. My point is when you create a culture where people feel, like they have ownership of these ideas, it's more difficult to lead because you have to be able to give them leeway. But what you get out of them, after that meeting, she had her 3 consecutive best sales months she ever had in her career for our team after that, because she was so like jacked up about like where she worked. Like, oh my God.
That's so good.
And this is what it's like. It is tough to lead this way, guys. This is a harder path, but
it's a harder path, but it's a truer path. And it goes back to the alignment. It goes all the way back to alignment, congruence. You know, we got about 90 seconds left. And one of the other things I want to bring up is just super fast is one of the things you actually mentioned when you said your team member said, well, actually, Ron, if you got back involved, you would screw it up. Right. I want founders and CEOs and visionaries to understand, that when it is working, your guttural instinct is going to want to re-engage. That's you actually getting ready to throw a grenade in it. Right. I've done that thousands of times by accident, and that also means your self-worth is tied way too much to who made it happen. Right. So I wanted to kind of touch on that because
it's perfect.
And then the culture aspect of having the culture already there where a key team member can say, right, dude, no offense, I love you. You're awesome. You do this over here really well. But if you get back involved over here, it's going to mess things up.
Yeah.
To have that level of transparency and honesty, I think showcases your level of leadership and how you go about leading and how you build teams. In the 90 seconds we got left, I meant to bring this up a whole lot earlier. We got so engrossed in conversation, I didn't know where to go. But you have a brand new program where you're now actually coaching and helping CEOs and get better at what they do. And as you know, that's close to my heart. That's one of the things I love doing. So tell the audience about it and where they can connect with you.
Guys, so I have a tremendous amount of free resources. If you go to Finding Peak, so findingpeak.com, Finding Peak Performance, tons of free resources. It's a Substack, so there's like a very inexpensive paid version. Most of that is I just want people to get this knowledge, and I share kind of my leadership thoughts, program, the different structures that I use, mental models, etc. I do one-on-one leadership coaching. It keeps me kind of grounded. I love working with founders. And if you have any interest in that, you can email me. And if you just have questions, it doesn't even have to be about doing business together or whatever. Ryan@findingpeak.com. That's my direct email. Feel free to email me with questions, thoughts, whatever. And if you do want to work together, I'm happy to have that conversation. But dude, I appreciate you so much.
Thanks, man.
Dude, since we connected, you probably get sick of all the times I like your shit.
Oh, not at all. Keep it coming, man.
Yeah, no, bro. Dude, I'm so in line with it. It's such an honor to be here with your community, and I just appreciate the hell out of your work. And becoming friends I really love it, man. It's been amazing, and I'm looking forward to kind of spending more time together and getting to know each other even more. So thank you.
Likewise, brother. Well, I can't wait to do this again. We'll definitely do a part 2. We basically touched on about 2 of the 25 questions I had. So the good news is the audience got a masterclass on leadership, because I believe your way of leading is very similar to how I believe leadership should be done. We lead by example, not by ego, and I think you delivered on that numerous times. I think not chasing status and chasing congruence is like I literally think this has changed. This simple reframe is changing people's lives and hearts and businesses. One listen or one view at a time. So, dude, I can't thank you enough, Ryan, for coming on the show, bro. We'll definitely do a part 2.
Thank you so much, man.
All right, take it easy, buddy. See ya.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that amazing conversation. And if you want more just like that to help you level up your life and your business, you're not going to miss this next one. Check it out.
Brand building now, because of AI indexing, is imperative for the future of any professional. Because I talk about branding, and I use that analogy all the time. Like, the writing's on the wall for my industry that if people don't establish a personal brand the next 24 months, they're not going to be in the business.